Okay, it says we're back. It's telling everybody.
Okay, so it looks like we're back. We've got an Xfinity guy here in the neighborhood, actually just a couple of houses down, who might have had something to do with that hiccup there. But anyway, we're going to proceed. So, as I was saying before, I'm going to try and smooth out this interface surface here, which is always comes out a little stringy, but I guarantee you it looks 10,000 times better than if I had used regular supports. So this is worth it. It makes it so much easier, and they come off really easy. So I'm going to put some super glue, not a lot, just like a bead, and we'll just do part of this. I think we'll stop right here at this junction. And this is medium thickness super glue. I don't use the really thin stuff because it just goes everywhere and you end up wasting so much of it. This stuff you can actually work with. You can put it where you want. It's not going to run away super fast unless you're, holding it at an angle. It will drip, but it tends to stay put a lot better. And they make even thicker version. This is the medium. The other stuff I think is too thick. It's more like a gel. I think I just put my hand in the super glue. Isn't that awesome? Okay, so I think we need a little bit more right here. What we want to do with the super glue is kind of get it to fill in the gaps. Okay, so this is our base. We can always add more. So we got that in, and now this is the super easy part. You just take some baking soda, and it's going to be Christmas time on top of the super glue. It's snowing. Okay. All right, so once we've got this on here like this, then I like to take my stick and I'm going to kind of push this baking soda down into the super glue, into the cracks, into all the little crevices. And this is the first step. And then I'm going to kind of slide it, kind of like a trowel, just along there. Okay? Looks like I need a little more up here. So I'll put some more right here. And smooth that out. So the baking soda actually helps the super glue kick off. So it actually hardens up pretty quick, creates a very strong surface material that is actually very easy to sand. So that's kind of what that looks like. I haven't sanded it yet, but when I sand it, there might be a few little pits in here that are very easy to fill up with red putty if you're even going to be concerned about that. But generally I'm not. As long as it's mostly smooth. See, like we'll do it up here. We have these lines right here with at the chin. So we'll go ahead and do that real quick too. So we'll put some super glue down. Just do this one side here.
Paxi Prime wants to know what all the baking soda is for. Is it just
designed to add structure to the super glue? It also helps it kick, and it creates a material that's left over that's actually quite durable. You can also use your finger to pat this stuff down. You really want to kind of push the baking soda into the super glue, but you don't want to go like that because then you may end up actually pushing some of the glue out. So I just very gently tap on it. You can use the stick. But you can see, let me get my, okay, now where's my brush? Here it is. My cleaning brush. So we can just clean that off, and you can see, if you compare it with the other side, this side's actually pretty smooth. I haven't even sanded this, and it's way better than it was. So, let's talk about now the red putty. Oh, first I'm going to do the back of this crest because we are going to putty this area and I'd like to get it done. So again, see if we can get this in a way that you guys can see it. I'm going to lay this in, this bead of super glue. And I'm not going to go too heavy because this is a really thin line, but it's a clear separation point between the two halves of this center crest, which are printed separately. And there's a reason for that. I kind of missed the line a little bit. So now I'm going to use the stick to kind of work the super glue into the crevice. I'm using the edge of the stick, just kind of working it in. And we'll scrape off as much of the excess as we can. But again, this sand's really easy, and we'll probably go ahead and sand it here in a minute. So we'll start back here and we'll just start dumping baking soda on.
Hey, Giuseppe wanted to know what type of the CA glue you use, which thickness?
I use medium thickness. I find that the thin is way too thin and you end up having it run everywhere. It's not easy to control. And the thick stuff, I think is just too thick. Yeah, I think it's too thick. If you want to know what super glue though I use specifically, you can go on my Amazon and you will find the exact brand. I use Starbond Accelerator and Starbond Glue. Medium thickness. Okay, so we got baking soda in that crack now. This technique also works a lot better for filling gaps than going with putty. Now, really small, thin gaps like what you have in the 3D print itself, that's fine for the putty. The putty works really good for that. But you know, this is a major seam, and once you've got it sanded flat, and you still have a little bit of a valley in there, going in with the baking soda and the super glue really helps fill that up. That's going to get a little noisy here for a second because I'm going to break out my sander and just kind of smooth this off. And it is okay to use an orbital sander. A lot of people are going, no, wait, you're going to melt the plastic. Well, yeah, if you leave it in one place and you push down really hard, you will melt the plastic. But if you let the tool do the work and you keep it moving and you don't stay in one place too long, you're not going to have any problems at all. And I'm running it at, I'm running my Tack Life orbital sander at 3 right now, okay? When I hook my vacuum up to it, it actually kind of puts some drag on the motor, so I have to crank it up a little higher to get it to work. But right now, I didn't want to turn the vacuum on too, so we're running it at 3. So I'm just going to go in here. And I'm not pushing down on this thing at all. I'm just letting the tool do the work. And you're going to see that this super glue and baking soda mixture actually sands off really easily. This is 220 grit sandpaper that I'm using right now, sanding disc. So it's actually considered fine. This is a fine grit sandpaper that I'm using. And it's doing a great job. So yeah, we're just trying to get this all smoothed out. It looks like that seam is pretty much gone, which is what we wanted. And you'll get to see that in a second. For this little groove here, I'm going to go ahead and use a file. Use one of my small files.
So while you're doing that, can we address a question?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so Cache 3D.
Hi, Cache 3D.
Wanted to know, because we have done this in the past, do you ever use PLA welding to fill gaps?
I have, but it takes a lot more work to smooth it out. If I'm doing it on an interior area, yes, I have done that quite a few times. I try to make parts that don't need to be done that way, but if you're printing on a smaller printer and you want to put your, pieces together to form the whole piece, that's actually a great way to go. I have a 3D pen, and it works perfect for that. So, yes, I have used that before. I wouldn't want to use it on an exterior surface, but for interior surfaces, absolutely. Absolutely. That's a great method. In a lot of ways preferable, but you really have to be careful and make sure that your PLA is going in hot enough to melt the surface underneath it. Because, when you're welding, when you weld metal, you have to actually heat up the metal beneath the part where the weld is going to go. So basically everything fuses together. And the same thing is true for the PLA welding. You need to get the PLA underneath where you're putting your weld in. You have to get that hot enough to where it's going to melt a little bit and fuse with the PLA that you're welding with. Does that make sense? So here's what this seam looks like. You can see it's pretty much gone. We are going to putty over this, and we are going to primer over this with filler primer. So by the time we're done with all of those processes, this should really look nice. So anyway, let's move on to the part that I really wanted to show you. But before we do that, give me just about half a minute to vacuum up my work surface here, because it's messy. Let me just get my shop vac out here.
And Cash says, that makes total sense. Thanks for the feedback.
You're absolutely welcome. Thanks for the question. That's the only caveat of the baking soda. It's a bit messy, but it's cheap. Back in the day, when I was doing props, we had something that was similar and in a lot of ways superior to this, but it's very expensive, and that is the using dental acrylic and a liquid that we called monomer. And that stuff was amazing. But you could only use it on certain things. You couldn't use it on acrylic. But it would probably work really well on this. However, the super glue and baking soda is almost as good at a fraction of the cost. So let's get the helmet back. And this is HB. I need something from you. I need a Dixie cup. Actually, 2, please. So, we are going to need, in addition to red putty, oh, and also can you bring me a brush from there's a brush right up here by the resin printers. Thank you. That's good. Okay, so I'm going to reuse this stick because there's no reason not to. Thank you. Okay, so let's see, where's my Dynatron? Here it is. So a lot of people use Bondo, red putty, red glazing putty. I was watching another guy and he recommended this product called Dynatron. You can find it on my Amazon. I didn't mean to rhyme there, but I did. And I love it. I think it's a little finer grit than the Bondo stuff. And it seems to fill gaps and not shrink as much as the Bondo stuff does. So what you want to do, now this whole technique here is about speed. And one other thing, because I'm changing the viscosity of the red putty, it actually goes into gaps a lot better than it does when you just spread it on with a spreader. So I've got about maybe a teaspoon of red putty in there. You need some acetone. And I'm going to put about half that amount in acetone. I'm looking for a consistency that's about equivalent to white glue. So it's going to be thin, but it's not going to be so thin. This can is almost empty. So I got about half a can of acetone there. Okay, and this we may need a little bit more. I always kind of eyeball this, but you can see I got the acetone in there. I got about a teaspoon or maybe even a tablespoon of red putty. And I'm going to mix it up real good. This technique that I've got here is my version of a technique that I've been seeing on YouTube whereby people airbrush this stuff on. Now, here's the reason why I don't do that. I'm lazy. And the thought of getting my airbrush out, loading this stuff in, and then spraying it on, and then having to clean and tear down the airbrush and then put it away, and still ultimately have to sand, it just sounds like way too much work for me. So I said, maybe there's a different way I can do this with a brush. I get these little brushes for free from Elegoo every time I order some resin from them, so I've got a zillion of these things. But you could use a little 29-cent chip brush from Walmart or one of the big box hardware stores. So anyway, you're looking for consistency that's like this. Okay, I don't know if you can see that, but it's basically like white glue or really thick paint. Okay, I mean, think of this more in terms of like thick paint, because that's basically what we're going to do here. We're going to paint this right on. All right, and this is going to go on very quick. You can get it into the gaps. Oh, and it also, because the acetone's in there, it dries really fast. So I can have a second coat on here in no time. But you can see how fast it's going on. I have a ton of control. If I get it too thick in one spot, then I just go back over it with the brush and thin it out. And it's okay if it drips. We're going to be sanding this again once we're finished, and we'll be sanding with 320 grit sandpaper. And then we'll be ready to prime. And I have found that this technique leaves me with the best pre-prime surface that I have gotten so far, to where I almost don't have to do anything after I prime it. I mean, I used to wet sand the primer after I put it on, because sometimes I would get some weird, like, kind of rough areas that just didn't seem as smooth as they should have been. So I would go in and wet sand the whole thing, kind of get it all smoothed out. Doing a block sand like they do with cars. But lately, when I've been doing this technique, and I just started doing this is a totally new thing for me. I have found that I have not had to go back and wet sand. So you want to be liberal with this, because again, you're sanding, and what we're trying to do here is to get this stuff to flow into the valleys that I mentioned earlier. We've already sanded the peaks off, so now we're filling up the valleys with this liquid. We're flooding the valleys with thinned down red putty, glazing putty from Dynatron. You can do this with the Mando putty. Do we have another question?
If you want to take some more.
Yeah, sure.
So first we want to say Mickey Duty said that he looks forward to your morning stories every day.
Okay. Awesome.
Mickle Makes 3Ds here, longtime stalker, first time commenter.
Nice.
Panzer Blitz is with us from Brazil.
Welcome in, Panzer Blitz.
Right? And our friend Wyatt Fettner. Wyatt says, win chest box.
Chest box is actually in development right now and should be out a few days after the pilot helmet, which all we're waiting on now for the pilot helmet to be a maker's model is the assembly guide, which is going to be fairly comprehensive. There's over 30 pieces that go into making this helmet, and there's a lot to it. So it's taken me a little while to put together. It's actually the hardest thing for me to do. For some reason, making assembly guides, instruction manuals is not the most fun thing for me. So anyway, we're not going to do this entire helmet right now, because it does take a little more time and precision than I'm able to give it under our current conditions. Mostly I just got to be able to see better, but I'm still working on my image enhancement system inside my helmet here. But that's coming.
Jedi Rogar said that he didn't know about the baking soda and glue filler. So
it's awesome. Pretty neat. You're going to love it. I found out about it about a year ago, and I have been using it extensively since I found out about it. It's really a fantastic trick.
And he just said, man, that quick drying is amazing. Yeah, you can see how fast
Yeah, it's really cool, because I can go back in now over these areas that I already did. If I see any spots that, I might still be seeing lines, You also get a lot more control. You get the same amount of control over the thickness as you would with the airbrushing technique, but this is just faster. You know, you don't have to set up an airbrush. You don't have to clean an airbrush, thank you. You know, here's the other thing. Now, I used everything up that was in here. You are going to go through more material than if you were, you know, spreading it on. However, you're going to be more certain that it's going into the areas that you wanted to. There's been so many times where I have spread red putty on and then gone and sanded it, and all the lines are still there. I'm like, what did this stuff even do? But when I've been using this, I'm not getting that, because now I can build it up, kind of like the primer. You can kind of build it up because it dries so quickly, and really make sure that your lines are completely covered. So I'm loving this technique. Yes, it's a little more consumptive with respect to the red putty, and you're also adding acetone, but I think that's a small caveat in exchange for what I'm getting in return in terms of speed. Okay, I can have this whole helmet done in about 20 minutes in terms of the putty, and then it'll be dry in about another 10 minutes after that, and then I can go sand it, and then I can go put some paint on it. So what used to take a much longer time, not only to apply the putty, it would take me probably an hour to putty up an entire helmet, and if I had to go back in and re-putty, then, you know, that's however much more time is involved. So, sounds like the neighbor's dog is going up. Do we have another question?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
NRG Prince is here.
Hello, NRG
yeah.
Prince.
It's a nice, clean shop. SO483AM was wondering if you had a shop, said he wanted to buy your stuff. Yes, there's a link on the page.
Yes, there's a link on the page. They go straight to our shop. You can see what we've got. We are also going to be putting up a lot more digital content for people to download and print in the near future. And if you go through our Maker's Model portal, you can get that with commercial use license as well. Costs a little bit more, but then you can make and sell it if you're interested in that sort of thing. So anyway.
And a couple other people were wondering which helmet this is.
This is the Ace. This is the base of the Ace. Yeah. This is the helmet itself. It's right now missing all the components that attach to it. If you go onto our website, you can see what the finished product actually looks like. But yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that goes in here. There's vents that go in here. There's ears, 3 pieces of ears that go on here. There's a blast shield and a shroud. Here, this is prototype 2.
This is the
but this is pretty much what it looks like when it's done.
Mandalorian
So,
Pilot Helmet.
and this guy moves. So, yeah, you get the idea. Rangefinder works, that sort of thing.
Yogo Junsla's with us. He says, best armor maker for best car.
Thank you.
Thanks, Yogo.
I appreciate that. You're very kind.
Nixon Nerd says that baking soda looks a lot cleaner than sanding foam. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Sanding foam, not fun. Done it, not fun.
Paxi Prime wanted to know how many times do you need to go over with the putty mixture?
It just depends. You know, there's always certain areas. One of the problems that I have with some of my prints is I get an effect called rippling. And the sanding really helps level things out, but sometimes, depending on where the machine's at, if it's at a point where it's going to need some PM, some preventative maintenance, or just some general maintenance, some of the rippling may be a little more intense than normal. In that case, I might have to hit it with some 80 grit first, and then go back over it with the 220 to kind of smooth it out, and then the putty. And it may take 1 or 2 applications, maybe even a third, but generally not more than that. And at that point, you're going to be spot fixing. You're not going to have to do the entire helmet or the entire piece. So, yeah, that's you know, something like this, which is the shield shroud. This, when I did the brush technique on this, I was able to get one of these prepped out and ready for paint in 25 minutes, which was remarkable because normally it would take me 45 minutes to an hour to get this piece ready. And just the, you know, including dry times and then going back over and sanding it, you know, sanding it smooth with 320, cleaning it all off with alcohol, and getting it cleaned up and ready for paint. You know, could be hour and a half, depending on how ambitious I was that day. So this technique is really been a lifesaver and really helped speed my process up. So yeah, so now, since we're talking about the Ace Pilot Helmet, I have gotten a ton of questions, tons of questions about ventilation for this helmet. Currently, the original design did not feature a pass-through. There's these little vents that go on the front here. They're different sizes because Mandos are asymmetrical, generally, at least mine are. But the large one is supposed to accommodate a hose. Now, I set this up so if you wanted to put two large ones on and have two hoses like a TIE Pilot, you could absolutely do that. But what I didn't do was I didn't create the ability to ventilate. So in my latest iteration of this helmet, there is a hole that this new piece goes in. Okay, this is the hose ventilation. This hose, this connector will fit an 1.25 BC hose, buoyancy compensator. Okay, that's a thing that divers wear around their necks that allows them to control their buoyancy underwater. And usually they wear a weight belt that helps them sink, but they don't want to sink like a rock. They want to basically float like zero gravity. So they wear this thing around their neck that is basically just an inflatable bag that hooks up to their tank. But they have a breather, so if they need more air, they have an emergency breather, and also they can bleed off air out of the BC using a device that's attached to this little hose. So this is a hose that goes on a buoyancy compensator or a BC. It's an 1.25 inch. It fits right in here. And of course the other end will go to the chest box. Now I'm going to take this thing apart. You can also use, which I thought that I had gotten out but didn't get, you can also use the drain hose for your average dishwasher. The nice thing about those is they come in gray or white, so if you want to paint it, you can do that. That material is also going to be a lot easier to paint than this, but if you want a black hose that's really flexible, this is the way to go. You can paint rubber. There are paints that are made to paint rubber. They have to be treated with a compound first, kind of like a primer, and then the rubber can accept the paint, and you'll be able to flex it without it cracking. There's plenty of people that make rubber armor pieces right now that know all about that. Okay, so here's the drain hose. Thank you, Mrs. HK. Again, now this doesn't fit quite as tight in here, but it does fit, and there's probably a dozen ways you can anchor that in there. I would probably just hot glue it because you can then get it out really easily. If you wanted to remove it, you're not going to have to drill any holes or put any screws in there. And hot glue is pretty fun for just kind of holding things together that don't have to be perma bonded. So yeah, there's that. So I'm going to take this thing apart here real quick using this awesome little tool that we got from Hoto, which means home tools, not for the construction yard. These are for home. Look at this little bad boy. That is so cool.
I love that thing for working on the printers.
Yeah.
I love it.
Mrs. HK uses this thing
I love it.
almost at least 3 or 4 times a week working on our 3D printers. Right now, I also build helmets with it. When I put the helmets together for final assembly, it makes it so much easier to get into these little screws. So I'm going to unscrew this thing so you can kind of see what's going on here. This is a 10 millimeter screw, M3.
Jedi
So it's
Rogar
2
wants to know,
pieces.
what is that? That is the 25-in-1 precision screwdriver tool from Hoto.
There you go.
The
25-in-1
yep.
precision screwdriver tool from Hoto.
And we have a discount code. It's on the linktree. If you go to the Maker Baked page here on Instagram.
Let's show this thing off. Okay, so
I
not
love
only
the
do you get
box.
this-
I mean, it's,
Not only do you get this cool little driver, which is recharges with a USB,
Yeah.
but you
all
get
the
this
different tips.
amazing box where it's all magnetic. These are all in here magnetically, so I can tip this thing over. They're not going to fall out.
Yeah.
Look at how nice this little box is. Okay? I mean, this is quality. This is pure quality. Really, really nice device and so handy. So then you just take out the bit you need. And we'll set this over here.
Filthy
And
Poser wants to know how Mr. and Mrs. are doing today.
we're doing great. Thank you for asking. We're having fun.
Yeah, this is great.
We're going to be doing a lot more of this kind of thing. And we're really excited about it, actually. So today has been a very good day. So yeah, put this thing in, and it actually holds a charge for quite a while. I'm very impressed with the battery that is in this device. So I printed out a little test section of my new helmet. So this here is this section right here. All right, all I wanted to do was just to be able to fit the part in and see if what I designed in the computer actually worked. And lo and behold, it does. Now, it is a left and right, and it is designed, you twist it a certain way and it goes in all the way. When you got it in right, it's going to be flush with this interior surface. Now, for those of you who have Ace Pilot helmets now, and you want one of these, I'm going to create a rig, a little jig that will allow you to drill holes around where your screw goes. And you'll have I will send you a modified version of this. If you order a chest box and you tell me that you've already got an Ace, then I'll know that you need the special one that goes with the earlier version, which is this helmet right here. I don't have a version of the new one yet. The first one is actually printing still, but suffice to say, it's got a sizable hole right here. Okay, and the whole idea for that is, if you get a chest box, you can put a fan inside the chest box. There's plenty of room to wire up one or even two of those, and a good sized one, and push some air through your hose, and then have it come up, to cool you off. So definitely a nice thing. So anyway, this thing goes in here, and then we've got this interior piece that holds it in, and it all goes together with a screw. I'm really starting to appreciate screws a lot more. Magnets are getting harder and harder to get, and they're going up in price, which, it's just the times we're in, I guess. But yeah, so screws are cool, and they're accessible to everybody. I don't know if I have this going in correctly. It might not be lined up right.
Genji 5318 says, amazing Mando helmet.
Thank you, Genji.
And Yogo wants to know, Yogo Junzo, how many buckets do you think you've sanded? I'm guessing it's at least 100.
Well over, I think. I think our count for gunnies was...
Gunnies are almost at 50.
Gunnies are almost at 50, and I know between
50
Sabine
Mando.
helmets,
And
Ursa
the
helmets,
Sabines and Ursas.
Pre-Vizsla helmets, which are coming back, by the way. I am going to issue a new version of the Pre-Vizsla. It's going to be a more realistic, real-world one. But that's on the back burner for the moment. I've got more important things to do, like the chest box for the pilot helmet, which everybody's hammering me for. So
Yeah.
I'm going to get that out like ASAP.
Yeah, not yet, Yogo.
And
Coming
then the
very
next
soon.
thing is going to be my new gauntlets, which I think you guys are going to be really excited about when they come out. So, and those will be available for digital download also. So anyway, that's the latest info on the pilot helmet. We finally do have ventilation. And let me think if there's anything else. Oh yes. Big Labor Day sale happening at Maker Baked. Today through Tuesday, September 6th, you can get up to 15% off. It's our biggest discount ever. And so go to the site and check it out. You are going to be in for a surprise. We should have everything available. What's that?
This is the answer to Filthy Poser's question. This is what you need to use that we recommend. It's water
Filthy
soluble.
Poser, this is for putting on your print bed.
Yep.
When you need it.
Just clean with water. Don't use alcohol on your beds. It's going to take off your nonstick.
Here's what I do. I get a sponge, and I put just a tiny little bit of dish soap on it, and I run it under the hottest water I can stand. And for me, I can actually stand pretty darn hot water. And then I'll go over and I'll just wipe it down. I usually have the bed turned on and heated up because that helps loosen the glue up a little faster. And then I just wipe it down with a towel and paper towel, and it all comes off really easy. But yeah, you want to use a really hot sponge. A little bit of soap on it does not hurt the bed. Alcohol will though, so don't use alcohol.
And purple.
So yeah,
It's got to be the purple.
Purple. Yeah, you can get these in a 3-pack at Walmart or the equivalent.
And JC Spider, yes, this will be put up on Instagram and also on our YouTube channel. So yes, we'll just archive it.
Yeah, and we're going to be a lot better going forward with the comments. Unfortunately, I haven't got a setup yet where I can see what you guys are writing to me, but we are working on that, and I apologize because that is something I want to be able to engage with you directly and not through my wife, but thank goodness she's here to help, and I'm very grateful to her for that. But yeah, going forward, I want to be able to interact directly with you, and we are working on that. I apologize, we're a little clunky right now, but we're getting there. So just bear with us, and thank you so much for your patience.
And this is off topic, but I think it's a great question. Nixon Nerds.
Yes, I am wearing shorts. No, I'm kidding.
Nixon Nerds tried to make a sword that could stick to his back. He wanted to use magnets, but it didn't work at all, and I know you have the answer for that.
Yes, magnets have a great pulling force, but they have a terrible shearing strength. And I'm going to see if I can show you. I think I have a couple of magnets here. If not, can you go in the drawer and grab me some? And I'm going to show what the problem with magnets is. Magnets are awesome, but you got to know how they work so you can implement your strategy for using them. Let's just grab some of these 15x3s here. So, all right. So you can see magnets. Their pull force is awesome. I mean, I had to use quite a bit of strength to do that. But if I want to take a magnet off here, all I got to do is this. Whoop. I did that with one finger. Okay, so this is shearing. When you go like this, and magnets do not work great for that. Now, if you created a socket that the magnet could sit in, then it would have to pull out before it could slide. So to do what you wanted to do with the sword, you would have to make some kind of socket, and unfortunately that would kind of ruin the look of the sword. So for that application, yeah, magnets aren't really the way to go, unfortunately. But yeah, that's the reason why. Thank you. Let's see, any other questions?
No, I think I got everything. Let me see what this is. How difficult is it to work while wearing the helmet? Nixon Nerds.
Are you kidding? It's easy. I was born for this. Nah, it can be a challenge. But I'm getting better with it, and you know, I actually really feel more Mandalorian when I do this because I feel like, you know, a Mando should be able to do whatever he needs to do, or she, in her armor. And yes, my armor is almost, I am working on it now. I am going to have my kit done here soon, or at least to the point where I'm wearing chest plates and all the good things. The reason why it's been taking me so long to get it is I'm like the mechanic who fixes everybody else's car, and my car's sitting out in the yard on blocks, okay? That's where we're at. And I'm working on it, but man, I got to take care of my people first, and that's always been my priority. So, you know, that's just how it goes. But right now, we're kind of in a good place where we're transitioning more to a digital format. We're still going to be doing makes. It's just that right now we're kind of backing off a little bit so that we can get this other thing going, and that's giving me a window where I can start developing not only other products for the shop, but also my own stuff, so I can wear some stuff. And also for Mrs. HK, she wants her set of armor too. She's been really getting after me for that. So I got to get on it. Mrs. HK is all over me to get, literally all over me to get armor. So she's going to get it soon. So anyway,
Oh my!
What's that? Hey.
All right, so why don't you tell them about the sale one more time? There's no more questions. I think I got everything.
Yeah, so one more time, we're having a sale, big Labor Day sale this weekend. Get up to 50% off. It's our biggest discount ever. And it's through today through next Tuesday, the 6th. Definitely going to want to go check it out. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to message me on Etsy. I'm more than happy to get back to you and answer whatever questions you have. And I really appreciate you guys showing up. And we'll be doing some more here very soon. We're going to be looking to do this like twice a week, like immediately. So we're just trying to work some kinks out, work some bugs out, and then it's going to be amazing. So I really appreciate everybody who joined us, and I'm going to sign off now, and I hope the rest of you have a fantastic day, okay? Thanks again.